South Africa-based print and online publisher Creamer Media has launched a new international edition of Mining Weekly for the iPad. Creamer Media CEO Kenneth Creamer tells us more about the launch. Welcome, Kenneth. Tell me, why did Creamer Media launch an iPad publication for Mining Weekly?
Well, Shannon, it's a very dynamic time in the media world. There's been a wave after wave of new technology that publishers have had to absorb, understand, and then use to fulfill their mission of, in our case, bringing mining news to our readership. Initially, with the internet, we were able to go into real-time publishing. We didn't have to wait for the presses to turn. We also then started to use the email to send out daily news about what's happening in the mining world, in the engineering world. But what we have found, a big change, is the consumer side of media consumption and how consumers are interacting with the media. And the real revolution has been the move towards smartphones and the move towards tablet devices. And obviously the iPhone and the iPad have led the way in that regard. So as a publisher who's aggressively embraced technological change, the move to the iPad edition of Mining Weekly was really a natural progression, saying if our readers are looking at iPads, that they're using iPads, we better make sure that our news, our magazine, is on that iPad so that they can get their daily news, get their weekly news, get their mining information from us through the device that they are using.
What content is published on the iPad edition of Mining Weekly?
Well, you'll see, Shannon, from here, what we have done is we're going to try and follow a regular structure. First of all, it's going to be a weekly edition. So as I said, the daily news, people can go to our website or they can get our daily Mining Weekly newsletter. But what we want to do every week is produce a Mining Weekly international edition, specifically for the iPad. So we're going to follow a structure. So every Thursday afternoon, in South African time, we will release that weekly edition, Mining Weekly International Edition, and then follow the structure of a cover story, which will be probably the lead story or the most important mining story of the week globally. Then there'll be an editorial insight, which is provided by Martin Creamer as he reflects upon the news and the developments of the week. And then we'll have an index in which the top 5 stories from the Americas will be featured, then the top 5 stories from the Australasia region, and then the top 5 stories from the Africa and Europe region. We will end off with a projects in progress roundup, all the global projects, and a profile of a mine, which we call the mine profile. Now, we are able to do this because we have already set up a global network of journalists and contributors. We have a full-time contributor in Perth, Australia, and we have a full-time contributor in Toronto, in Canada. We also have contributors on a part-time basis in Kolkata, in India, in Harare, in Lusaka, in Zambia. Sometimes from Argentina as well, we have a contributor. And then obviously our head office or our main newsroom is here in Johannesburg. So if you bring together the main stories of all of those contributors, you have a surplus of interesting news, which can then fit into the iPad structure.
What do you hope to achieve with this particular publication?
Well, I think what we want to achieve is to show our readers that they can use the device that they prefer, being their iPad, and they can have confidence that if they download the Mining Weekly International onto their iPad, they will be able to see the main stories driving the mining industry that week. Very convenient, very accessible, well-written stories with hard news angles. And they won't have to move much except their fingers to see that. They don't have to stand up, they don't have to go to their computer, they don't have to go to the street corner. They can just look in their iPad as they're doing all of their other tasks or reading other magazines on the new. We're going to be putting this into the newsstand of the iPad. And it's a really very, very consumer-centric way of providing news to people at their convenience.
Now, on that note, how can readers access this particular publication?
They will, yes, there's a degree of reader education involved here. I do think that millions of people have become quite proficient at using the Apple iTunes store. So if you want to read the Mining Weekly International Edition for iPad, you will have to go into the Apple iTunes store and you'll have to download the Mining Weekly International application. The Mining Weekly International app. You search for it, you find it. You then click on download, and that is a free app. You then have access to the free application called Mining Weekly International. Once you go inside that app, you will see the editions, the weekly editions piling up of Mining Weekly International. For the next few months, we are going to keep those editions as a free product and assess the uptake. If we find that that the market is moving towards paying for that content, we will consider that maybe in the new year. But for now, there's no payment, no charge whatsoever. You go in, you download the Mining Weekly International application, and then you can download the magazine of the week that you want to read. The download size also varies because it could be as small as 20 or 30 megs, it could be 120 megs. Depending on how much video and audio and such material we've included, because it's very convenient to watch video in the magazine. You know, these are a new type of magazine. They've got videos in them, they've got audio clips in them, and many pictures. It's moving very fast. So as I said, you will go into the Apple iTunes store. As we move forward in the next few weeks, Apple has now opened up a news stand, which is a built-in application on the iPad. We imagine that soon now readers will not even have to go to the application store directly. They'll click store in the newsstand, and in that store they will find the Mining Weekly International. It's a very similar thing, but it's a slightly new interface where all the New York Times is there, other magazines are there. So magazine and newspaper apps are agglomerating in the newsstand, and we intend to be there very shortly.
And I suppose there are also new opportunities for advertisers.
Yes, that's true. We have already found there's been quite a bit of interest amongst the advertisers. We're going to be carrying full-page adverts at quite a low cost initially. It's like when we launched with the internet about 10 years ago and started putting adverts on the internet. It was a low cost, low barriers to entry to get people into that, to understand the benefits of advertising on the internet. We're going to follow a similar strategy now, quite a low cost entry for a full page ad, much cheaper than a full page advert in a print magazine. But as the readership grows and as people become familiar with the benefits, we are expecting that advertising will grow like wildfire on the iPad.
Well, we wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shannon.
That was Creamer Media CEO Kenneth Creamer telling us about the new Mining Weekly International edition for the iPad.